The Kyoto Shadow, Chapter 1, The Fallen Petal. Detective Miles Harrington felt the crisp chill of Kyoto's early spring as he stepped off the plane, the air heavy with the scent of cherry blossoms. The city was bathed in the soft hues of pink and white, a spectacle of nature's transient beauty that contrasted starkly with the grim purpose of his visit. He was here to unravel the mystery of Hiroshi Yamada's death, a revered tea master found dead in his private garden, his body surrounded by falling petals during the peak of the Hanami season. Harrington took in the scene, which seemed to blend peace with the macabre. Yamada's body was laid out with such meticulous care that it appeared as if he had simply drifted into an eternal slumber beneath the cherry trees. His face bore an expression of serene acceptance, no signs of struggle or violence, yet he was unmistakably dead. This was no ordinary murder. It was shrouded in the enigma of Japanese tradition, where death could be as ceremonial as life. The detective walked through the garden, where yellow police tape stood out against the natural beauty like a scar on a masterpiece. The remnants of a tea ceremony lay before Yamada, 4 cups, 3 empty, 1 filled, but untouched. The tea leaves in the untouched cup were arranged in a deliberate pattern, a silent message or perhaps a symbol from beyond. The local police, both puzzled and reverent, shared their initial findings. Yamada wasn't just any citizen. He was a keeper of cultural heritage, a man whose death could ripple through the community's cultural fabric. Harrington sensed the complexity of his task. This wasn't merely about solving a crime, but about navigating through layers of cultural significance, understanding the nuances of a society where honor and tradition were intertwined with daily life. The case was a puzzle where the tea ceremony, meant to celebrate life, had been transformed into an act of death. The untouched cup, the petal-strewn ground, and the serene arrangement of Yamada's body all whispered of a story where death was part of the art of living. Harrington left the scene with a sense of reverence for the task ahead, knowing that solving this murder would require him to delve into the heart of Japanese culture. He pondered the implications of the ritualistic elements, wondering how deeply the roots of tradition and honor ran in this case. The detective knew he was at the beginning of a journey that would take him through the heart of Kyoto's soul, where every petal that fell could be a clue, every gesture in the tea ceremony a riddle to be deciphered. He felt the weight of history, the silent stories of honor and betrayal that might have led to this moment. Around him, Kyoto continued its daily dance with life and death, the blossoms a constant reminder of the impermanence of both. End of chapter. Chapter 2. The Samurai's Code. The next morning, as the first light painted the sky with hues of gold and pink, Harrington made his way to a dojo, a bastion of martial discipline where Yamada had once learned the art of the tea ceremony. Here tea was not just a beverage, but a method of understanding life's deeper truths, intimately connected with the samurai's code of honor, loyalty, and readiness to die for one's principles. The dojo was located in a quiet part of Kyoto, its entrance adorned with traditional Japanese architecture, the wood darkened by time and respect. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of polished wood and the silent reverence for martial arts. Meeting with the dojo master, Masaru, Harrington was introduced to a world where the tea ceremony was a sacred art, an extension of the samurai ethos. Masaru spoke with a reverence that seemed to fill the room, his voice low and measured as he explained how Yamada had been working on reviving ancient practices. He described Yamada as a man who lived by the samurai's way, not just in theory, but in practice, his life a testament to the ideals of Bushido. Harrington's attention was drawn to an empty spot on the wall where an ancient scroll should have hung, a scroll detailing the samurai's duties of honor and revenge. Masaru confirmed its absence, stating it had vanished around the time of Yamada's death. This revelation opened up numerous lines of inquiry for Harrington. Could the scroll's absence be directly linked to Yamada's murder? Was he killed because of what he knew or was trying to preserve from the past? Masaru hinted at rivalries within the tea community, where respect could easily turn into enmity. He spoke of how Yamada's efforts to bring back old practices might have threatened others, suggesting a motive rooted in centuries-old conflicts. Harrington left the dojo with a deeper understanding of the cultural landscape he was navigating. The missing scroll, the samurai code, and Yamada's recent endeavors all pointed towards a murder that could be a statement, a final act in a drama of honor and betrayal. The detective knew he had to explore these cultural depths further, to comprehend how a tea ceremony could become a stage for murder, how a missing artifact could be key to understanding Yamada's final moments, and how the samurai spirit still influenced modern Kyoto. The air was thick with history, and Harrington felt the weight of centuries-old traditions bearing down on the case, each clue a thread that could unravel the tapestry of this mystery. He realized that to solve this, he must think like a samurai, understanding not just the act but the honor behind it. The detective left with a sense of the past watching him, urging him to uncover its secrets. End of chapter. Chapter 3, The Hanami Festival. The Hanami Festival was in full bloom when Harrington arrived, the city's parks and streets vibrant with celebrants, enjoying the transient beauty of the cherry blossoms. It was a time of both joy and melancholy, a celebration of the ephemeral nature of life, but for Harrington it was also a backdrop for his investigation. He moved through the festival, his senses alert for any clue or whisper that might lead to Yamada's killer. The atmosphere was one of pure bliss, with laughter and music filling the air, the scent of sakura mixing with the aroma of street food. But beneath this celebration, Harrington knew there could be secrets and possibly crimes. He watched the crowds, the way people paused under the trees, their faces lifted to catch falling petals, each moment a potential clue. Amidst the festival's cheer, he met Taro, a local artist known for his controversial art that often challenged traditional norms. Taro was visibly nervous, his eyes scanning the crowd as if expecting danger. With some coaxing, he revealed he had witnessed something odd the night of the murder, but had kept silent due to fear. He handed Harrington a sketch, a shadowy figure in samurai attire near Yamada's garden. The sketch was detailed, capturing not just the figure but the tension of the moment, the mystery palpable in each line. Taro explained that this figure had been around Yamada recently, suggesting a connection. His art often dealt with themes of light versus shadow, and now he had unwittingly become a witness to a real-life drama. Taro's reluctance to speak stemmed from a fear of reprisal, not just from the murderer but from those who might wish to keep Yamada's death shrouded in mystery. Harrington realized the festival was not just a celebration, but a stage for secrets and perhaps crimes. Taro's confession was a crucial lead, but it also put him in danger. The detective decided to protect him, understanding that the murderer might see Taro as a threat to be neutralized. He arranged for Taro's safety, knowing that this artist's sketches could illuminate the dark corners of this case. The festival's atmosphere, once purely joyful, was now shadowed by the knowledge of darker undercurrents, the beauty of the blossoms a poignant contrast to the secrets they might conceal. Harrington knew he had to tread carefully, balancing the celebration of life with the investigation of death, all while the cherry blossoms fell like silent witnesses to the unfolding drama. The festival, a celebration of life's fleeting beauty, was now a part of the investigation, each petal a potential clue in the mystery of Yamada's death. The detective felt the festival was not just about witnessing nature's beauty, but about understanding the human nature that could turn beauty into tragedy. End of chapter. Chapter 4. The Shadow in the Garden. As night fell, Yamada's garden transformed into Harrington's surveillance point. He set up to catch the murderer or gather more clues about the ritualistic murder. Under the moon's gentle light, the garden took on an ethereal quality, the shadows long and dancing in the breeze. The ambience was serene yet charged with an unspoken tension. The garden, once a place of peace and contemplation, had become a stage for a silent watch. Harrington observed from his hidden spot, as the night deepened, the sounds of the city fading into a distant hum. Just before midnight, figures emerged from the darkness, moving with a purpose that contrasted with the garden's tranquility. One figure approached the exact spot where Yamada had been found, leaving something behind before vanishing into the night. The detective felt the air thicken with anticipation as he moved cautiously towards the spot, his steps silent on the moss-covered ground. He found a piece of fabric with an ornate samurai crest, not just any crest, but one belonging to a lineage thought extinct, known for both heroic deeds and tragic betrayals. The fabric was a clue, but what did it signify? The texture was old, the colors faded, yet still vibrant enough to speak of its importance. Harrington pondered the implications. Was this a sign from the murderer, or a deliberate misdirection? The garden, with its historical roots and current beauty, held more secrets than he had initially thought. Each step felt like peeling back layers of an ancient scroll, revealing more of the narrative with each detail. The crest spoke of a history that could still influence the present, suggesting that the murder was not just about personal vendettas, but about the legacy of honor and betrayal. He knew he'd need to delve into historical records, perhaps consult historians about the crest. The night had offered more questions than answers, but it had confirmed the shadows of history were very much alive, influencing the present in mysterious ways. Harrington felt a chill, not from the night air but from the realization that this case was a bridge between past and present, where honor could lead to murder. The garden, once a place of peace, had become a stage for a tragic play of human emotions and cultural heritage. The detective understood this case was about more than solving a crime. It was about understanding the soul of Kyoto through its most cherished and darkest traditions. End of chapter. Chapter 5. The Path of the Blade. Dawn was breaking when Harrington visited an ancient katana workshop, hidden in Kyoto's quieter backstreets. Here blades were not just tools of war, but works of art and tradition, each one telling a story of its maker and its intended purpose. The workshop, a small unassuming building with a traditional Japanese facade, was where Kenji, the master swordsmith, continued a family legacy that stretched back centuries. Kenji greeted Harrington with a bow, his hands stained from the work of forging steel into legend. He showed the detective a blade with markings identical to those at the crime scene, commissioned by Yamada for a tea ceremony. The blade was a work of art, its steel shimmering with a life of its own, the markings along its length telling tales of honor and history. Kenji explained that Yamada wanted this blade, believed to hold the spirit of a legendary samurai, for its symbolic value in the ceremony. He spoke of how Yamada had been fascinated by the idea of merging the samurai's path with the tranquility of the tea ceremony, seeing it as a way to honor both aspects of Japanese culture. The blade was not just about cutting through flesh, but about cutting through layers of time, connecting the present with the past. The detective's mind was abuzz with possibilities. Why commission such a historical blade, if not to confront a danger or partake in a plot? It could be both clue and misdirection, linking samurai legacy with modern revenge. The blade was not just a weapon, it was a piece of history, its edge sharp with the weight of centuries. Leaving the workshop, Harrington felt the weight of history, knowing he needed to explore the connections between samurai tradition, the art of tea, and the motives behind a murder that seemed to transcend time. The blade was not just about killing, but about symbolism, about a statement made in death. He understood that to solve this, he must look beyond the physical evidence to the cultural narratives that shaped the lives of those involved. The blade in his mind was becoming more than just an object of murder. It was a symbol of a culture's heart and its shadows, a silent witness to the dance of honor and betrayal. End of chapter. Chapter 6. The Silent Witness. With the blade's revelation, Harrington decided to protect Taro, whose sketch had been pivotal. He arranged for Taro's safety, revisiting him for more details. The artist's studio was a small, cluttered space filled with the scent of ink and paper, where light filtered through rice paper screens, casting soft shadows across the room. Taro, now under protection, provided a refined sketch, capturing not just the figure's silhouette but a glimpse of the face, resembling someone from Yamada's secretive tea society. The detail in the sketch was astounding, each line speaking of the artist's terror and fascination with what he had seen. Harrington infiltrated a society meeting, disguised as a guest. The room was thick with the scent of incense, the air filled with whispers of lineage, secrets, and the weight of tradition. The tea society met in an old traditional house, its walls adorned with calligraphy and paintings that spoke of a time long past yet still very present. Here he learned about Akio, the society's leader, with a grudge against Yamada, tied to historical betrayals. The atmosphere was tense, filled with the murmurs of old disputes and new rivalries. The members, dressed in traditional attire, moved with the grace of those who understood the power of every gesture. The detective watched Akio, every gesture analyzed for deceit or truth. He felt close to unveiling the murderer, but knew this society was a labyrinth where every member could be friend or foe. Akio's presence was commanding, his movements deliberate, yet there was something in his eyes that suggested he was not the end, but a means to an end. Leaving the meeting, Harrington had motives clearer but understood the path to solving this was fraught with cultural intricacies and vendettas. Taro's sketch had provided not just a face, but a glimpse into the complex web of relationships and rivalries that Yamada was part of. Harrington knew that to solve this case, he must navigate through these cultural and personal entanglements. The detective realized that in this society, where honor was everything, betrayal could be the most powerful weapon, a silent blade that could cut through centuries of tradition. End of chapter. Chapter 7, The Ritual Uncovered. Harrington staged a reenactment of the tea ceremony in Yamada's garden to trap the murderer. The setup was meticulous, every detail observed by hidden officers. The air was filled with the scent of tea, the ceremony unfolding like a silent performance under the night sky. The garden, with its lanterns casting soft light, became a stage where every movement was scrutinized for its meaning. As the ceremony progressed, the tension built until Akio stepped forward, confessing to Yamada's murder as an act of honor. His voice was calm, his actions measured, as if he were still part of the ritual. But before he could elaborate, the garden's hidden mechanisms, ingeniously set by Yamada, trapped him. The detective's heart raced. This was too theatrical, too planned. However, Harrington wasn't convinced Akio was the mastermind. The setup seemed too perfect, too much like a performance. Akio, under interrogation, revealed he was manipulated by someone else, someone with deep knowledge of Yamada's secrets and the ancient arts. His confession was filled with the complexity of honor, betrayal, and the manipulation of tradition. The detective's mind raced. There was another layer to this case, another secret yet to be uncovered. The reenactment had not only confirmed Akio's involvement, but also highlighted the complexity of the plot. Harrington understood that the murderer was using the ceremony not just to kill, but to send a message, one rooted in the codes of honor and betrayal from samurai times. The detective felt like he was close, but the truth was still veiled by layers of tradition and deceit. He pondered the implications of this revelation, how the ceremony was not just about tea but about life, death, and the stories woven into each sip. The garden, once a place of beauty and contemplation, had become a battleground of motives, where the past whispered through the present, urging Harrington to uncover its final secret. End of chapter. Chapter 8. The Blade's Confession. With Akio in custody, Harrington pieced together the full story. Akio's confession was of a ceremonial killing, meant to right historical wrongs, but he was clearly manipulated. He spoke of a figure who knew Yamada's every move, using him for vengeance. The interrogation room was stark, a contrast to the ornate settings of the tea ceremonies, where truth was now laid bare. Harrington revisited the untouched cup, the ceremonial blade, and Akio's confession, forming a mosaic of deceit. Each pointed towards another individual, the true mastermind. The detective felt the weight of each clue, understanding that Akio was merely a pawn in a larger game, a puppet whose strings were pulled by someone else. He dove into historical records, spending hours in libraries and archives, linking ancient vendettas to modern murders. The mastermind was likely from a lineage that had survived, hidden within Kyoto's cultural elite, their actions a testament to how deeply the past could dictate the present. This case was about unveiling a narrative of revenge transcending time. The blade, the scroll, the ceremony, all were part of a larger plan to reclaim or perhaps rewrite history through murder. The detective realized that this case was not just about catching a murderer, but about understanding how deeply the past could influence the present, how honor could be the cause of both life and death. The blade's confession was not just about its use in crime, but about the stories it carried, the silent witness to centuries of conflict and honor. Each piece of evidence was a chapter in a tale where the lines between tradition and treachery were blurred. End of chapter. Chapter 9, The Cherry Blossom's Secret. As the Hanami festival climaxed, with petals falling like gentle snow, Harrington tracked down the mastermind, someone Yamada had trusted, driven by an ancient vendetta. The chase through Kyoto's historic streets was intense, each turn revealing more about the depth of betrayal. The festival, with its celebration of life, was the perfect cover for a confrontation with death. The mastermind tried blending into the crowd, moving with the fluidity of someone who knew these streets like the back of their hand. But Harrington's knowledge of the city, combined with his understanding of the cultural context, gave him an edge. The detective weaved through the crowds, his eyes sharp, his mind calculating each move. In a dramatic confrontation under the cherry blossoms, the mastermind was revealed, one with much to gain from Yamada's death, not just in power, but in preserving or altering the legacy of their lineage. The detective managed to apprehend them, the petals falling around as if in mourning for the truth that had come to light. Harrington understood the cultural implications. The murder was about history, honor, and the samurai spirit in modern Japan. The festival, which celebrated life's fleeting beauty, had masked one of the darkest tales in Kyoto's recent history. The detective had not only solved a murder, but had unraveled a story where the past and present collided, where beauty and death danced under the falling petals. The crowd around them continued their celebration, unaware of the drama that had unfolded among them, a reminder of how life and death coexisted, how beauty could hide such shadows. The detective felt the weight of the moment, knowing this case would be remembered not just for its resolution, but for what it revealed about the heart of Kyoto. End of chapter. Chapter 10, The Last Sip. In the aftermath, with the mastermind in custody, Harrington shared one final cup of tea in Yamada's garden. Here, under the fading blossoms, he reflected on the case. The ceremony was now closure, each sip a contemplation of honor, betrayal, and justice. The garden had returned to its state of peace, but for Harrington, it would forever be a place of revelations. The garden bore testament to secrets unraveled. Harrington pondered how the tea ceremony connected life and death, where every gesture could tell of love, betrayal, or honor. Yamada's death was a culmination of tradition and conflict. The detective felt a profound respect for the ritual, understanding it now not just as a cultural practice, but as a narrative of human life. He thought of each person involved: Taro, whose art had unwittingly captured a fragment of truth; Akio, manipulated by history's dark currents; and the mastermind, whose actions were a testament to how deeply cultural heritage could drive one to harm. This case had not only been about solving a murder, but about understanding the soul of a city where history was not just remembered, but lived. Leaving Kyoto, Harrington felt a profound respect for its culture, an appreciation deepened by the shadows he had uncovered. The beauty of the cherry blossoms was now juxtaposed with an awareness of the darkness that could lurk under such beauty, the silent stories of honor and revenge that played out beneath the veneer of tradition. He would leave Kyoto with more than just the resolution of a case. He carried with him a deeper understanding of how closely honor and betrayal could be linked, how the past could dictate the present, and how the art of tea could be both a celebration and a farewell. This investigation had taught him about the depth of cultural heritage, the weight of history on human actions, and the complex human emotions that drive us to both creation and destruction. With the last sip, Harrington set down his cup, a symbolic gesture of laying to rest the case but not the lessons learned. He knew that every investigation left a mark on him, but this one had etched itself deeply, reminding him of the delicate balance between beauty and the shadows it could cast. As he prepared to depart, he looked around one last time, the garden now just a place of peace where once it had been a stage for tragedy. The case of Hiroshi Yamada had not only been about solving a murder, but about understanding the heart of a culture where honor and beauty were forever intertwined. End of chapter and end of story. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe for more free audiobooks on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts.